I've survived over 10,000 days in my world, but spawn looks awful, and I need a faster wood farm. So today, I'm going to be completely transforming my spawn by building a statue, a nether portal, and a new base to store a super rare item. I'm also going to be building 2 super fast tree farms, and then I'm going to end by building a super cool new storage room, because currently, the storage for all the farms I have at spawn is super messy and overflowing. First, I need to find the spawn point, which is the center of my world. The easiest way to do this is to just head to the end, and then throw a load of random items through the portal. Now if I head through as well, I can find where the items are. And here we are, the block that these items have landed on is the spawn point for my world. So I'm going to mark it with an ender chest. The reason I'm doing this is that it's going to be the center of one of my builds. So let's start with that one. The first thing that I need to do is clear a load of space for it, because it's going to be pretty big. You may notice loads of chickens at spawn, and that's because I keep throwing all their eggs. But anyway, let's get on and clear all the space that I'm going to need. There we are, I've now cleared a big area for where the build's going to go. I don't know about you, but I find terraforming really satisfying. And ignore my levels, I definitely didn't die. But now it's time to gather the resources to actually make the build. So first I headed back to the end, and you're going to notice I come here quite a lot in this video. Then I grabbed some sand, and then I took it all to my brand new super smelter which I built in the last video. So now if I put the sand in, you can see it's all getting smelted into glass. And there we go, all the glass has come through. The next thing I need is a shulker box of prismarine. Luckily, I've already got some, so I just grabbed that. Then I headed over to my piglin bartering farm, and luckily, I've already got more than enough quartz for what I need. So I'm going to take this quartz and turn it into blocks. And now that all the quartz I need has been turned into blocks, let's head back to my super smelter, put all of the quartz blocks in, watch them smelt, and now I've got a load of smooth quartz blocks. After that, I headed to my bone meal farm, and you're never going to guess what I got, a shulker box of bone meal. Then for the third time, I headed into the end, and I grabbed some sand again. And then, also for the third time this video, I went to the super smelter, and smelted all the sand into glass. Whilst it was smelting, I turned all the bone meal into white dye. I've got a whole shulker box, just so that I have some left over for the future. And now that all the glass has come through, I can take it, and craft it with the white dye, turn it into white glass. To be honest, I don't really know why I didn't do white glass and regular glass at the same time. It would have made a lot more sense. But anyway, speaking of things I could have done at the same time, I headed back to the bartering farm for more quartz. This time again, I crafted a shulker box of quartz blocks, but then I turned some of them into quartz bricks and some of them into quartz pillars. Now that I've got them, I crafted even more quartz into more quartz blocks, and now I've actually used up all of my quartz supply. But anyway, then I took those blocks and headed back to my super smelter again, and then I smelted them all into smooth quartz blocks. Now that all the blocks have come through, I'm going to craft some of them into stairs and others into slabs. Hopefully that's all the prismarine items I'm going to need for a little bit. After that, I crafted a shulker box full of prismarine walls, and then I got a shulker box of sea lanterns. Once I did that, I grabbed loads of prismarine shards and took them all to my squid farm. Then I turned the ink sacs from the squid into black dye, which I then used to craft dark prismarine. And once I had all the dark prismarine, I crafted it into stairs. Now that I've got them, that's all the main resources I'm going to need for the build. So I'm just going to quickly gather all the other little bits I'm going to need, and then we'll cut back once I've got them all. By the way, while I'm doing that, if you're enjoying the video, please don't forget to leave a like. Thank you. Here we are, I've now got everything I'm going to need to build my brand new base at spawn. As I said before, the centre of this build is going to be on the ender chest that I placed earlier, and it's going to take up all of this space. But enough talking, I'm going to get on and build it. And look at that, it's done. I think it looks really cool. I'm really happy with it because I designed it all myself. As you can see on all 4 sides, it's got a H for Henry in gold blocks. Don't worry by the way, this here, which is the storage for the sugarcane farm, is going to get removed a little bit later on, when I build a new storage room at spawn. So if we now head into the base, as you can see, it's got big open arches so that I can easily fly in. And around all of the arches, there's crafting tables and ender chests, so that I can access them whenever I need. Then, one of my favourite features of the build, hanging from the ceiling, is this chandelier, which I designed myself, out of end rods, and I think it looks really cool actually. So, this base has quite an open design, so that it's easy for me to fly through it. So to achieve this and have it still look nice, what I've done, I've put all of the workbenches in the floor. As you can see here, I've got a bed, and then I've got all the workstations I could possibly need. Here are some brewing stands, then there's furnaces, and over here there's some chests. There's also an enchanting setup, and an infinite water source. This base is going to be really useful to help me build all the other things I'm going to be adding to spawn. Now, under here, I'm going to have a map floor of all around spawn. But I haven't filled it in and placed all the maps yet, because there's so much more I'm going to be changing and adding to spawn. So there's no point creating a giant map of spawn yet, if I'm just going to have to update it. So I'm going to be creating the map floor at the very end, so keep watching. And there's just one more thing to finish in this base, and that is that the centre pillar is empty. Now this pillar is built exactly on the spawn block of my world that I found earlier. So I think really there's only one thing that should actually go here. And there we go, on the pillar it's going to be a diamond block, and sitting on top it's going to be the dragon egg. I think this is a perfect spot to put it. And once the map floor's done, it's going to look even cooler. I just have to remember, don't click on the egg. But anyway, that is the first build now completed. Only 6 more to go. But don't worry, this next one's going to be a super quick one. And then after that, I'm going to be building a super powerful tree farm. So, now I need to gather the resources for the build. So, go ahead to my base and grab an empty shulker box. And as you can see, it's now full. And it's got all the resources I'm going to need for the next build. Which is going to be a brand new and much cooler portal for spawn. So, I'm going to break the old one because we're not going to need that anymore. Now, the portal's going to be going over here, just to the side of the base that I've just built. So let's build it! And there we go, it's done! Again, I designed this one myself too. And it's meant to be like a nether version of the base I've just built. So instead of using prismarine, I've used blackstone. But of course, it's still got to have the gold H on it so we know whose it is. Now there's one thing I'm kind of worried about. I'm not sure if this new portal is going to link to the old portal in the nether. I really hope it does though, because otherwise it'll just be annoying to have to move it. So let me grab a flint and steel and light the portal. And wow, look at that. It looks super cool lit up. The black and the purple work so well together. It's a very simple little build, but I really like it. As I said by the way, I'm going to remove all the storages of the farms around spawn later when I build a cool new storage room that all these farms are going to link up to. But let's head through with my fingers crossed that it links. And it links perfectly. There we go, that saves me a job. And if we head back through to the overworld as well, it also links perfectly. So next, as I told you in the intro, I'm going to be building 2 new tree farms. This is the slower tree farm, but in my opinion it's the cooler one. And we'll build the other one a little bit later on. So let's start by gathering the resources to actually build it. First of course, I'm heading to the end, through my Millennium Falcon entrance. Someone recently told me to put powdered snow covered with carpet rather than water at the bottom of the tube, which I've now done, and I think it looks so much better. So thank you to whoever commented that. By the way, if you want to see the video where I built this end entrance, along with all the other old videos in this series, there's a playlist link in the description. Go check it out. Anyway, as I was saying, I headed to the end, and then of course I grabbed loads of sand. And when I hopped through the end portal, I came out at my new base at spawn, which was a fun little surprise. But anyway, I then took all the sand to my super smelter to smelt it into glass. Also, I'm still super proud of the autocraft that I managed to design and build in the last episode. That video is also in the playlist linked in the description if you want to check it out. And now all that sand's become glass, I'm going to use the spare white dye from earlier to turn it into white glass. And there we go, that's all the glass sorted. Next, I'm in the end again for white concrete powder this time. Then I took all that over to my concrete converter and turned it into regular concrete. And there we go, now I've converted all the concrete powder into regular concrete. I tell you what, I need to make an auto sorter for the concrete farm storage at some point. But anyway, that's the job for another day. As you can see here, I've now got all the white concrete that I need. Then I found a random portal that links to my ghast farm for some reason. So I killed the ghast that managed to come through, and then I destroyed the portal. Then I headed over to my slime farm and grabbed a shulker box of blocks. Luckily, I've got loads, so this was no problem. Then I headed to my base to grab the last few items that I need, which were some observers, some normal and some sticky pistons, then some redstone, and some repeaters. After that I got some hoppers, and I'm now starting to learn where all the items in this base are, and I'm getting faster and faster at finding everything, because I only built it recently. Then I got some sea lanterns. And now I have most of the resources I'm going to need to build this farm, but I'll see you in a second once I've got them all. And here we are, this is everything I'm going to need for the tree farm. I'm not going to be building this at spawn because it would just be too laggy, so instead I'm going to build it next to my dirt farm, which is sort of a tree farm because it does get me wood. I've just realised I completely forgot to tell you what this farm actually is. It's going to be a 2x2 jungle tree farm. It's going to be super cool, and it's the first farm I've ever built that uses a flying wall. Anyway, let me get on and build it. There it is, and it looks super cool. It's actually quite an old farm, but it's the best design I could find. It's made by Il Mango, and it's linked in the description if you want to build it yourself. Although, as it is a bit of an older design, there were a few issues with it, so I had to modify it so that it works properly. And if you want my modified design, you can find it on my Discord, along with the schematics for all the other builds in this video. It's linked in the description. I recommend checking them out so you can build them in your world. So, the main feature of this farm is its flying wall to collect up the trees. The reason it needs this is because unlike other 2x2 trees like spruce trees, it has branches that stick out. So let me test it and show you how it works. First thing you do, you flick this lever to turn the farm on. Then you need to get in the minecart and aim at the correct angle. Once you're doing that, the minecart will set off and you can start placing saplings on the dirt. Then once you've placed all the saplings and the minecart gets back, the saplings get bone milled and turn into 2x2 jungle trees. Once all the trees have grown, the wall sets off and it pushes the trees all the way across the farm to the end where the TNT blast chamber is. Because there are so many pistons involved, it can get quite laggy, but seeing it flying is super cool. Then once the flying wall's delivered all the logs to the TNT blast chamber, it heads back. And then the TNT blows up all the logs. And then along with other items like sticks and saplings, they flow down a water stream and get loaded into shulker boxes. So now I'm going to test the farm for a little bit to see how many logs it gets me. Here we are, I've been testing the farm for a little over an hour and it's been working really well. And this is everything I got. It's not loads, but it's pretty good. This farm design is really cool, but it's also super weird because jungle trees only drop half the amount of saplings that other trees do, which means you need to break all of the leaves to actually get enough saplings back to be able to grow the jungle trees again. Now, although it is pretty fast, because it's got me quite a few shulker boxes of logs in just over an hour, my regular 1x1 jungle tree farm is actually faster than this one. Now you may wonder why I've actually built this farm. Firstly, it's pretty cool, and secondly, in this world I built a farm for every single tree apart from two types, the 2x2 jungle tree and the 2x2 spruce tree. And now, obviously, I built one for the 2x2 jungle tree, so later on in the video, I'm going to be building one for the spruce tree. Now, unlike the jungle tree farm, which is just a bit of a gimmick, the 2x2 spruce tree farm is actually going to be the fastest wood farm in my world, getting me over a shulker box of logs every single minute, which is going to be super useful in some of the big projects I have coming up. Anyway, for the next build, I need to head back to spawn. Just behind the base I built at the beginning of the video, I'm going to be building an underground room to store loads of essential items like spare gear, foods and rockets. And it's going to be built underground right here. Luckily, I already dug out a hole for it earlier. Take a look at this. And now that it's dug, I can start getting the resources to build it. By the way, it isn't just going to be a room to store stuff, it's going to have some pretty cool redstone functions too. So, first, because it's tradition now, I headed to the end. But this time, I haven't actually come for sand. Instead, I've come for concrete powder. So I grabbed all the powder that I needed, and then I took it over to my converter and turned it all into regular concrete. There we are, everything I need has been converted. Next, I headed to my base and got some hoppers, white glass, smooth quartz stairs, and then some composters, which I'm going to place on top of hoppers to reduce lag. Then I got some redstone, prismarine and prismarine bricks, chests, observers, smooth quartz, then comparators and repeaters. After that I got some sticky pistons, redstone blocks, and obsidian. Whilst I'm gathering all these resources, if you have any ideas or suggestions of how I can improve these videos in any way, or any suggestions of future projects that I should do, let me know in the comments. And whilst you're down there, please don't forget to subscribe. Anyway, let me super quickly get the last few items that I need, which is some moss, then barrels, iron trapdoors, soul sand, dispensers, droppers, pistons and note blocks, and then some redstone torches, honey blocks, redstone lamps, crafters, crafting tables, cobblestone walls, stone brick walls, oak trapdoors, oak signs, ladders, stone buttons, and finally a bed. And that's everything I need. That's why I love the storage room, because everything I need is just all in one place. It makes things so simple. Anyway, now I've got everything for the build, I can head to spawn and start building it. And there we go, now it's finished. It doesn't look as good as the storage room that I'm going to be building later, but this room is more here to be useful than to look good. So let me take you through it all and show you around what everything does. Firstly, on the walls either side of the staircase here, there's barrels for important resources in case I die. There's things like wood and iron and crafting tables, so that I've got blocks and I can craft anything I need. This is in case I die and end up back at spawn with none of my stuff. The other barrels here are for spare armour, tools and elytras. Luckily, I recently went end raiding and got loads of spare gear, which I can now put into all the barrels. So as I said, in case I die and come back to spawn without any of my regular gear, I can grab some spare armour and blocks to help me get back to where I died. The next section of this build is for food, rockets and for totems. Now these are here also in case I die, but not just for that. With all three of these items, I have shulker boxes full of them in my ender chest. Now quite often these shulker boxes run out, so what I'm going to have here is a store of food, rockets and totems, so that when those shulker boxes in my ender chest run out, such as when I've used up all my rockets, I can just come here, drop off the empty shulker box and take a brand new full shulker box, without having to waste loads of time crafting new ones. I'll grab the items to fill this section up in a little bit, but first, let's look at this. This is an XP farm, the same design in fact that I built in the last video. And what it does is spawn silverfish from allays taking damage using infested potions. But obviously, as you can see, I don't actually have any of those potions. So let's head to the brewer, which I also built last video. If I go in the book and select the potion I want, and because it's a new 1.21 potion I have to press the bowl, then if I add splash, and I can start brewing, now all the potions have come through and I've got a shulker box full. Then I'm going to take them all over to the XP farm. But before I test the XP farm, I've also added an extra portal into this room, to make it easier to access from the nether. So as I said, when I'm running low on firework rockets, I can just quickly fly into this room and grab them, and this portal just makes it so much easier to do that. So if I light it, and I head through, it links perfectly. Anyway, back to the task at hand, I'm going to put all those potions into the XP farm. Now if I press this button, one of those potions will be dispensed into the allays, and I can start hitting the armor stand, which takes out the silverfish. As you can see, this is getting me loads of XP. This farm will run for about 3 minutes before the effect wears off. And there we go, look at all the levels it got me. Now back to the food, rockets and totems. As you can see, the empty shulker boxes in these chests are the exact same as the ones I have in my ender chest. I've colour coordinated them to what's actually inside them, so that when they're in my ender chest, they're super easy to find. Which is the reason I want them in the coloured shulker boxes, rather than just being in the plain coloured shulker boxes. So what this machine will actually do, when I load up shulker boxes of pork chops, it will unload them for the regular coloured shulker boxes, and load them in to the brown food shulker boxes that I've loaded in, which I can then take and swap for the ones in my ender chest. Now with the food and the totems, all it does is load them from regular shulker boxes into my special ones. But with rockets, rather than putting rockets in and getting rockets out, I can instead put shulker boxes of sugarcane in and shulker boxes of gunpowder in. The sugarcane gets crafted into paper, and then the paper gets crafted with the gunpowder to create rockets, which then get loaded into the red shulker boxes. So now let's go grab everything I need. First I headed to the hoglin farm and grabbed loads of shulker boxes of cooked pork chops. Then I loaded them into the machine. Next I headed to the gas farm and grabbed loads of gunpowder. Then I went to the sugarcane farm and grabbed loads of sugarcane. This is one of the farms that spawn, so the storage for this is going to be changed very soon. And lastly, I grabbed loads of totems. As you can see here, it's working and crafting the rockets. So now I'm going to AFK for a little bit to let the machine run. The idea with it is I'm going to load it up now, and it should then have all the resources I need for like a whole year, so I never have to go refilling shulker boxes manually ever again. And there we are, it's been a few hours, and as you can see, all of the shulker boxes have been fully loaded, ready for when I need to switch out an empty shulker box. What I'll do, I'll take the empty shulker box out of my inner chest, and grab a new one and place it in. Easy as that, it's going to save me so much time. And that's that build completed. Now, before I build my super fast wood farm, I'm going to build a statue of myself, so that everyone knows that this is my world. It's going to go on top of this hill behind my base, on the space that I flattened earlier, but it's going to be a little bit bigger than the space I originally made for it. So let me quickly terraform the land to make a bigger space. There we go, that should be more than enough space to build it. Now, as I'm sure you'd expect, the next step is to get all the resources to actually build it. So I headed to my base to start gathering all the resources. First I got a shulker box of stone, then I got some brown terracotta, grey concrete, then I headed to the wool farm for some white wool and some black wool. After that I headed to the end and got some yellow, white and brown concrete powder, then I converted it all into regular concrete. And there we go, now it's all regular concrete. Then I'm going to head back to my base, craft stone bricks and stone stairs. Then I got some white terracotta, some yellow wool, and then I headed to the end again for orange concrete powder. But this time I didn't convert it, because I actually need it just for the build. Then I got some iron bars, sea lanterns, light grey concrete, and grey wool. Then I got light grey wool, brown wool, and black wool, and crafted it all into carpets. And there we go, simple as that, I've now got everything to build the statue. So let's head to spawn, and here are all the resources I gathered, so let's get on and build it! There we go, it's finished, and I think it looks really good. It looks just like my skin, and I think I did a really good job designing it. I'm really proud of it. And now everyone's going to know that it's my world. And it doesn't just look like me on the front, it's identical on the back too. By the way, it is actually hollow inside, so if you have any ideas of what I could build in it, let me know. Next, it's time to build one of Minecraft's fastest tree farms. It's going to be one of the most useful farms in my world, as it's going to allow me to get loads of wood super fast. So as usual, let's start by getting the resources. So I headed to my base and I grabbed a shulker box of obsidian, some white concrete, slime blocks, observers, sticky pistons, black concrete. Then I went to my azure bluette flower farm to get loads of the flowers, which I then crafted into a full shulker box of grey dye. As I've said before, I'm getting a full shulker box just so that I have spare for later. Then I headed to my clay farm, but I didn't need to AFK because I've luckily already got a shulker box of clay blocks. Then I took it to my smelter and turned it all into terracotta. Then I combined that terracotta with the light grey dye to turn it into light grey terracotta, and then I smelted the light grey terracotta once again to turn it into light grey glazed terracotta. And there we go, I've got a full shulker box of the stuff. Next I grabbed some hoppers, cacti, repeaters, and lastly I crafted some birch trapdoors. And now I've got most of the resources to build the farm, so I'll see you when I've got the last few. And there we are, as you can see here, and I have everything I'm going to need to build the farm. Although it's going to be super powerful, it isn't actually that big. And once again, I'm not building it at spawn, because it would just be a bit too laggy there. So instead, I'm going to build it next to my other large tree farms, on this empty piece of land over here. I'm super excited to build this one, and I can't wait to see how fast it is. So let's get on and build it. There we go, it's done! Like I said earlier, for how fast it's meant to be, it is a super small and compact farm. Look how much bigger the jungle farm is, yet this farm is so much more powerful. Now, as I've said before, this is a 2x2 spruce tree farm, and it can farm up to one tree every few seconds. So let me get in there and test it. But before I do, these chests here are meant to have bone meal in, and they're all empty. So I'm going to quickly head to my bone meal farm and grab a load of shulker boxes full of it, and then bring them straight back and put them in the chest. And yes, this farm's so powerful, you put in shulker boxes full of bone meal. But anyway, if I head into the farm and grab the saplings out the barrel, then I turn it on. What I do, I get in the minecart, and I simply aim at the podzol and place saplings. And that's all I need to do. So let me explain to you how it works. So, as you saw, I sit in the minecart and get moved side to side so that I place saplings on all 4 blocks. Then those saplings get bone meal and turn into a giant spruce tree. Then the tree gets pushed out of the growing area and all of the leaves are broken so that I get the saplings to grow new trees. Then, a little bit further along, the logs are all split up into 10 separate groups and sent to one of 5 different blast chambers. Then, inside these blast chambers, the TNT blows up the logs and they drop. As I said, there are 5 different blast chambers, and each of them are at a different height, so they each handle different parts of the tree. Then, once all the logs have been broken, they're all funneled into a water stream and taken to shulker box loaders. Then these shulker box loaders load the logs into shulker boxes and put them into these chests. As you can see, this is a very simple but very effective farm. I've been AFK now for about 10 minutes, so let's see how many logs I got. Wow, look at that. That's over a shulker box of logs every single minute. This farm is going to be super useful. Especially because for the giant storage system I'm going to be building at spawn in a little bit, I'm going to need loads of spruce. But just before I do that, I need to head to my tropical fish farm. And whilst I'm here, I'm going to catch loads of different fish and grab some axolotls. Then I'm going to take them all to my aquarium. Then I'm going to put them all in an anvil and start naming them. And now that all the fish and axolotls have been named, I'm going to start adding them into the tanks. Now, you may be wondering who they've been named after. Well, every video, I tell people that if they comment on the video, in the next video, I'll name a fish after them. So, all the fish and axolotls that I'm placing right now are named after people who commented on my last video. So, if you want to get a fish named after you in my next video, all that you need to do is comment on this video, and you can comment absolutely anything you like. And once you've done that, I'll name one and put it in my fish tank in the next episode. And whilst you're down there leaving a comment, please don't forget to subscribe, because this channel is still super small, and it really helps. Thank you so much, it is really appreciated. By the way, if you want to get daily updates about what I'm up to, and sneak peeks and behind the scenes on future videos, make sure you join the Discord, because people over there already know what my next video is going to be. I must have around 750 fish and axolotls in the aquarium by now, which means we're now getting really close to 1,000, which is crazy to think about 1,000 people commenting on my videos, so I just want to say thank you all so much for all the support. Anyway, there we go, they're all in now, and both the axolotl and the fish tanks are starting to look really cool, because now, as I said, they're starting to get quite full. But anyway, let's get on with the final build, which is going to be the giant storage room for all my farms at spawn. So if we head to spawn, as you can see all around spawn, I've got loads of different farms, and each of them have a different storage. Most of them are pretty messy, and some of them are even overflowing. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to build a new underground storage room that all these farms are going to link up to, so that everything's stored in one place and doesn't overflow. The reason it's going underground is because it's so big it won't fit anywhere else in spawn. So let's start by digging a big hole right here for it to go in. And now, after 4 hours of digging, I have a huge hole under spawn. And in here is where the storage room is going to go. By the way, while I've been doing all the terraforming and digging all the holes around spawn, look at all the ore I got from doing that. I've got over a double chest full. Anyway, now I'm going to gather the resources to build the storage. First, I headed to my brand new spruce tree farm to craft a shulker box of planks. And next, I need exactly 1,000 chests, which is very satisfying. So I got to work crafting them. This farm is so good for when I need loads of wood, it's going to come in so handy in the future. Next I headed back to spawn because I need bamboo blocks, and then I crafted some of those blocks into bamboo planks. Now I've got them, I headed to my base and I got some hoppers, then I got some oak leaves, and I'm actually surprised at how many oak leaves I have. I didn't think I'd have any. Then I headed to my stripped log farm and grabbed loads of stripped spruce logs. Then I headed back to my base to get quartz bricks, smooth quartz slabs, then I got some smooth quartz, popped it in the stone cutter and turned it into smooth quartz stairs. Next I grabbed some glowberries and some bone meal, and then I used an autoclicker on the glowberries to get loads more. And there we go, now I've got the majority of the resources. I'll see you once I've got them all. And here we are, I've now got all the resources for the final build. I can't wait to get working on this one, it might be my favourite build of the video. So let's build it! And it's finished! I think it looks really good. I love the natural roof. I'm super proud of this because remember, I designed it all myself. And as I said earlier, if you want to download the schematics for any of these builds, they're all on my Discord, which is linked in the description. As you can see, there are loads and loads of chests here, so none of the farm should overflow anymore. This storage room has space for up to 20 items. At the moment, I've only got 11, but I have plans for new farms I might be building at spawn very soon, so keep an eye out. Also, down the end, I've added a portal, just to make it easy to access. As I showed earlier, all of the storages for my farms are overflowing and messy, so now I'm going to get to work tearing them all down and connecting up all the farms to my new storage room. So I'm going to need a few resources to do that, so I grabbed some glass, some hoppers, some composters, some packed ice, preparators for peaches and redstone torches. And now I've got everything, so let's link the farms to the storage. And now it's done. Spawn looks so much cleaner now, I love it. You can actually fully see my base now. So, the iron farm goes into a pipe that leads underground, the kelp farm has hoppers that lead into the ground, and all of the other farms are hidden and you can't even see anything. It looks so much nicer than it used to, having random storages everywhere. And it's also so much more convenient, because whenever I need anything from one of the farms at spawn, I just hop through the portal and grab it. And as you can see in the chest, all of the items are coming through nicely. Some items I've got absolutely loads of. Like I've got 20 double chests full of sugar boxes full of kelp, which I'm never going to need. But the whole point of Minecraft is getting loads and loads of resources for no reason, so I'm going to keep playing. And now with that done, you may think this video's finished, but there's still one thing to do. And that is the map floor in my base. So first I need to get a load of maps, so if I grab a sugar box of sugarcane, I can craft that into paper. Then I can craft a load of compasses, and use them to craft maps. Now I've got all those maps, I'm going to create the first map here at the very centre, and then I'm going to fly north and do 6 more maps. There we go, now I can put them in, and that's the first line done. Oh, hang on, some of the maps aren't fully filled in. Let me go and do that quickly. There we go, fixed it, and now the first line's fully done. Just imagine what the whole floor will look like when it's done. It's going to be so cool. But there is one more problem. As you can see, the haze 2 beacons that I've placed to help me build everything at spawn, you can see them on the map. And I don't want them here anymore, so I'm going to get rid of all of the beacons that I've built around spawn. And now I can update the map, and they're gone. But anyway, I'm not going to show you me getting every single map, so let's cut once the floor's done. And there we are, now the floor is finished. It looks super cool, and I think it's so fitting having the dragon egg sat on top of a map of my world. If you look closely on the map, you can see some of the builds that I've done in the local area. You can see all the farms at spawn, and over here you've got my wood farms, and over here you've got my beacon pyramid. And in the next video, there may be another build in this area, but I guess you're just going to have to keep watching to see that. But anyway, with that done, that is now spawn fully complete. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, why not click this video, where I designed and built my own auto-crafter farm to craft any item in the game. Or click this video, where I built Minecraft's fastest guardian farm. Thank you so much for watching, Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye!